Hi, I'm Heather, a certified personal trainer, yoga instructor, and have my BS in exercise science and behavioral coaching from Arizona State University. I currently live in Oregon with my 3 kids, who I will reference often.
And I'm Britt, a former Division I collegiate athlete turned recreational triathlete and fitness instructor. I have a degree in exercise biology from UC Davis, and I currently live in Belgium with my husband and 4 kids.
Together, we're best friends wanting to bring the world of health and fitness back to a more grounded and balanced place that's accessible to everyone.
Each episode, we're going to talk about ways to live out a well-rounded and healthy life that makes sense in today's modern, busy world. We'll cover topics related to exercise, nutrition, mindset, mental health, competition, and so much more.
So sit back,
Sign up,
and let's get ready to race to wellness.
Cool. So today we're going to be talking about maintaining a fitness routine when we have disruptions in our schedule, specifically disruptions that we know are coming. So things like vacations, kids being away from school, things that we can plan for and then adjust our routine so that our fitness still fits in with our life. We'll probably do another episode down the road where we talk about involuntary disruptions in our life and how we can maintain fitness during those times. But specifically today, we're going to focus on the things we can plan for, what we can do to maintain, how we can adjust so that our fitness routine is still working for our life, but might look a little bit different. Boop, boop, boop.
Love it.
Hey, love it.
So I think the main one coming up for most people is summer vacation, because this is now the end of June if you're listening in real time.
Yep. Kids are out of school now, depending on your area. They either got out a couple weeks ago or maybe this week was their last week, something like that. But yeah, I know that when my kids are out of school, my routine gets a little bit easier, honestly, because then I'm not having to think about the days that I have my kids. Like normally I go at 5 a.m. to a class, or I go after they go to school. So like a 9 a.m. or noon while they're in school. When they're home from school, it makes it easier for me because I can go when I want to and just take them with me, which is really nice. But not everybody has that option. I know that there's a lot of places that gyms don't have childcare, that kind of stuff. You might not have somebody to take care of your kids. So looking at activities that you can do if you're not able to make it into a gym, if that's something you're used to, thinking about things like home workouts or body weight movement, yoga classes at home, using YouTube, going on hikes, doing outdoor activities. There's all sorts of things you can do.
All sorts of things. And I think that, well, for people who work like a job that goes all the way through summer and it's like a 9-to-5 type job or something, let's just say, you probably have less of that flexibility though, of when your kids are out of school, when you can go to the gym, when you can't go to the gym.
Yeah, I would agree. I know that my schedule is incredibly unique in that I kind of get to make mine up wherever I fit clients in.
Yeah.
But for the majority of people, I think you're right. People typically have like a 9-to-5 job or something that takes up a big portion of their day. And so then coming home to their kids being home from school, or their kids just being out of school, it looks different.
And especially if, again, let's go with the 9-to-5 type model. If you have childcare available at the gym you go to, not all gyms have that childcare 24/7. And so you might not have the privilege of being able to bring them to the gym and having them hang out at the child area at the gym. And if your kids aren't old enough to come work out with you or do something else at the gym, you might not make it to the gym those days.
So there's some things that you can do to add into your routine. So their dad takes them frisbee golfing with them a lot, which is great. Like you're out doing activity, you're including the kids are participating in some way. And I think a lot of times when we think about our kids as separate from the activities that we're doing, especially around our fitness. But if we can include them in some way, that's a great way to like teach habits to them for life.
And it's a double win because then they get exercise and activity, which hopefully tires them out so they're not bouncing off the walls later at night.
For sure. I took my kids with me on a hike on Saturday. We went out and did a hike up in Forest Park. And I thought for sure that they would go to bed early that night because they would have been so tired from it. And absolutely not. They
Oh no.
like my youngest fell asleep on the drive home. And then we got home and they were like running around like crazy maniacs outside. And I was like, cool. It was like 10 o'clock at night before they came in. And I'm like, that didn't do a thing.
All right, blew my theory out of the water, but maybe some kids might
Some
get
kids,
more
for
tuckered
sure.
out. Well, I think also if you're outside in the sunlight a lot, because the sun drains you of energy. So if your activity brings
Yeah.
you out into direct sunlight, like that might help
Mhm.
drain them out a little. But you also have to be
Yeah.
careful in those types of
Yeah.
environments.
Sunscreen for sure. I've never talked about hiking in a positive way. I think on the podcast, especially. I was
That's
just
true.
realizing. Yeah. So I don't know that we've actually talked about it on the podcast at all. But so Brittany and I are planning a trip to Machu Picchu in the summer of 2025. Whoop, whoop. And so for me, I have to hike. Like I never ever go out in the woods and I never hike, but especially by myself. And so I put together an email list with people in the area and started sending out emails of like, hey, if you want to hike with me, I'm sending out my schedule. And then so I just started doing it on Saturday. Saturday, I did my first hike. I'm doing 2 this upcoming weekend. One is like a short one and then a longer one. Yeah.
And then pretty soon we'll get her back into running.
No. No.
It's all
But
part of
maybe.
our plan.
Yeah. It could work. It's so funny because like there's a bunch of women at the CrossFit gym that I go to that are currently doing like a couch to 5K or like a couch to 10K sort of. But yeah, they're all talking about it. And now I have a little bit of FOMO happening where I'm like, oh, they're all doing it. I don't want to run. Absolutely not. But
absolutely not.
Yeah. But running is a good way. So when your schedule is disrupted, that's something that requires no equipment. You can do as short or as long as you'd like, toss it in somewhere in your week. That's a good thing to do.
Especially if you have younger kids. Like and again, you have to be a little bit planful in some of this because if you have really young kids, strollers and things like that, you can stroller run with them, but you also probably need to have a little bit of equipment to do that because I will tell you that the cheap strollers don't run well.
No, true. Yeah.
But you can take your kids on like a run with you, or if they have bikes, you could have them bike alongside you and they can run, and you can run on the path. I see a lot of people on my Instagram who are moms with younger kids. That's how they get in a lot of their runs when their kids are around.
Yeah. I used to, when I was doing my races and that kind of stuff, I took the kids out a lot. I used to have a double stroller when I only had 2 kids. They loved it. They absolutely loved it. Yeah.
Another good way to do that would be like if you went to a track because they can run around on the infield and play there and you're running around the outside and you have eyes on them the whole time. So it's not like they're going to be able to get away from you.
Yeah, for sure. Especially I can't speak for all areas, but I know that in my area, the schools are open and they have their tracks open during the summer season.
Yeah, a lot of them generally are. You might just have to check like a schedule because some of them might have like summer camps where like you have soccer or football or something else using the facilities as well. So they obviously would have priority over that. But
yeah, for sure.
Most of the time, what I have seen is like 5-6 o'clock onward, things are completely done. And then they don't usually start up until like 8 or 9 in the morning. So if you're an early morning person, it's great.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we're hitting on with this is the planning ahead portion. Like understanding that your routine is going to be disrupted. And so rather than allowing it to impact you in a negative way, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't go to the gym at 5 o'clock like I always do. Instead of viewing it as a negative thing, like really planning for it and making it fit with your life. So we've talked about on the podcast before about planning your workouts around your life that already exists rather than planning your workouts and then making your life fit around it.
Mhm.
Unless you're in the fitness industry as an instructor or somebody who's always in the gym, it really doesn't work like that. You have to focus on building your life how you want it and then building your activity levels around that so that it works for your schedule.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're not going to do your workout at all because something else is always going to come up and you're going to say, oh, this takes priority over that weightlifting session that I should go do or that class or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is that it makes it more of a chore than something you get to do. I remember in our podcast a couple of weeks ago with Ash when we were talking about disordered thoughts on exercise. And she was mentioning like anytime that it becomes like a rule that you have to do this, that's when things can start going a little dicey because it's no longer being something that's positive for you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So around that point of like, it becomes a chore. And the other thing to remember is, especially like specifically right now, I feel like we're talking about when your kids are out of school, which is a big one for people right now. Your kids are going to take energy from you. If you don't have energy to give them, you're not going to have energy to give your workout either. And when you're already in a habit, you're already in a routine, your workouts are giving you energy to put into the other places in your life. And so maintaining that is much easier than it is to stop completely, lose that momentum and energy toward your workout, and then restart it again when you're already in an energy deficit from having your kids there and your work stuff and whatever stuff is happening in life. Like really working to maintain that, even if it's at a lower level. That's the other part that I kind of wanted to talk about was about like setting realistic goals for the summertime. So for me, thinking about the summertime with my kids, luckily I'm in an environment where I can take them with me. And so my goals don't shift too much. But if I were in a place where I had to give energy to my kids and all that kind of stuff, I wouldn't be going for PRs. I wouldn't be going for long runs, like putting all that kind of time and energy into that workout. I would shift my focus to where I'm energetically going towards my kids and then pick up the heavier weights and the longer runs and those sorts of things at a time that it works for me. And if you can fit it in your routine while your kids are out of school, that's awesome. Like more power to you. But just looking at your life overall and then setting goals and making a plan that's effective for your life.
Yeah.
I could see your face that you were not.
Yeah.
You were like, I don't agree with that all the way. I love it.
Well, so I think that will work for some people. There are other people where because summertime might be the time, it's the most popular time people go on vacation pretty much. And that means that it also might be the time that you are doing like a big A race that you have been training for all winter, spring. There are like, from my world, there are a ton of triathlons that happen in the summertime. And you can't move the date of your race. So you either have to figure out how to adjust to get those long runs and workouts and things in so that you can do your A race or not. So I think that there will be people who, it's okay if we definitely back way off and like we give more of our focus here to the kids. But there are also going to be people who need to set the boundaries with their kids and say, look, mom or dad or whoever I am to you needs to get this done. And we're all going to go to this race. We're going to support, we're going to have a great time. But you need to understand that I need to go for an hour and a half run today. And that might mean that you need to come to the track with me, or you might need to do whatever today. We can't go to the zoo today.
Because I have to do these.
Because I have to do it.
Yeah. I think it's really good, like thinking about including our kids in what our plan is and communicating effectively with them so that they understand. We teach our kids all of the habits of life, not all of them. Some of them, their friends are going to teach them whatever else they're going to pick up. But for the most part, when they're living in our house as parents, we are teaching them their habits for life. And so if they see us in a habit or a routine of exercising regularly, taking care of our bodies, feeding ourselves well, that kind of stuff, those habits are going to carry over, hopefully, into their life because they've seen them and they understand what that looks like and then what it does for their parent in a positive way.
Mm-hmm. And it also kind of sets that, hopefully, if you're doing it in a healthy manner yourself and it's not an obsessive thing, they're going to see what a healthy relationship to fitness can look like as well.
Yeah. I was reading an article recently that was talking about the fitness of the mother in a household has the greatest impact on the fitness of the children. So like, while it's great, we don't want to downplay the exercise that dads do, but when a mom, oftentimes moms in the household, that portion of their life, their fitness, their diet, nutrition, that kind of stuff is oftentimes neglected because they're giving so much to their family. But when a family supports a mom and allows her to focus on her fitness, that fitness carries over to the children in a higher level or at a higher level than it does when the dad is allowed to do it. I wish I could find the article. I wonder if I saved it somewhere because it's interesting. If I can, we're gonna put it in the description. It was really fascinating. Yeah.
I mean, that kind of makes sense in the way that traditional households, and again, you can't blanket statement everyone, because there are households without moms, they have two dads, or they don't have mom or dad, they have grandma and grandpa, or whoever your household is. But in the traditional mom and dad household that we think of, moms generally are the ones doing the cooking, the cleaning, the taking care of the children part, and the dad, and the reason that I bring this up is because we just had Father's Day in America. And Father's Day gifts, a lot of times I always see dad got to go play golf, and on Mother's Day it was like mom got to hang out with her kids.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know about you, but on Mother's Day, I'm like, I would like you to take my children and leave me alone.
Yeah. But like, the role that the moms play is they're generally around the kids more, so the kids see more of what the mom does on their activities and their lifestyle than they do dad. Again, in the traditional perfect quote unquote family that we've all been sold chicken in every pot.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love it.
What was I gonna say? Oh, okay. Summer vacation, I think, is a really good one to like lead off with, because it's such a universal experience that we all know and can relate to. And it's one that is long enough that you can get back into like the vacation mode routine. Like, you have your non-summer vacation routine of work, school, and whatever your other activities are, and you put your exercise in there. And then you have your summer vacation routine of maybe not work, maybe not school, maybe different activities, and then you put your exercise in there.
Yeah. And then there's like vacation mode where you're like out of country, out of state, at a hotel, in a camper, traveling, whatever that looks like. And that's a whole different,
Yeah. And it might only be like a week or two. It might not be a very long time. So it might not be one where it's as easy for you to transition in and out of.
Yeah, for sure. I know that there are some people who are really like adamant about going, like there's oftentimes hotels have gyms, depending on which one you're going to, but there'll be a gym for you to go work out at. And some people are like super on it, like people that travel a lot for their work, that kind of thing. They already have that routine built in for them. And so when they're on vacation, it's easier to just fall into it. But for people who are not used to that routine, or don't know the equipment as well, sometimes gyms at a hotel have different equipment than you're used to. And so trying to figure out a routine in there in the different equipment can be challenging. So that's why it's nice to have something like body weight movement or yoga or running or something, or outdoor activities to kind of fall back on, so that during those times you're still able to get activity in. It just looks a little bit different and it's more simple than trying to come up with a whole new routine for the gym in gym equipment you're not used to.
But also, like, it might have hours on the gym as opposed to it being open 24/7 for you. You might be going to a different climate. You might be
Mhm.
vacationing somewhere in the summer that's really, really hot, and you're not going to want to work out when it's really, really hot out during that time.
Yeah. Well, and depending on what you're doing on your vacation, oftentimes you don't actually need to go and do a workout in order to maintain your fitness. So I'm thinking, for example, of like when I went to France, I was walking like a half marathon a day while I was there. And that's not my normal activity level. I walk around for my job and that kind of stuff, but like
Mhm.
long walks are not part of my life in general. And so doing that much physical activity of just walking, that was enough to maintain what I had built already.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
also, depending on your vacation, there are people
Yeah.
who take vacations to go to the beach and lounge and
Mm-hmm.
lay around and just relax. And then there are people who take vacations who they jam pack their vacation with as much
Yeah.
stuff as you can get in there. And they come back from vacation tired because you've done so much stuff during that vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely somewhere in between those two things. Like, I think that my parents, thinking about the vacation we just took to Hawaii, my mom's partner, he loves to jam pack. He wants to be diving the whole time. He wants to be doing activities of some sort the whole time he's on vacation. My mom is much more of a lounge by the pool or the beach sort of person. And I'm like somewhere in between. Like, I like a certain amount of activity so that I'm not just sitting at the beach or just sitting by the pool, but also like I really revel in just getting to sit on the beach and like watch the waves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I am more of an eat on vacation sort of human, honestly. Give me the food.
Nice. We've
Yeah.
learned from our experiences now traveling that we are a plan half your vacation with activities.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be, let's say, on vacation for a week, you only plan like 3.5 to 4 days of stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that might look like half a day on Monday and half a day on Tuesday. It might look like a full day on Monday and nothing on Tuesday, but it allowed for so much more flexibility, and it allows
Yeah.
for the rest and recover time in case you need it.
Yeah. I feel like you do. I mean, like, I know for myself, I need recovery time on a vacation, especially if I'm going to a place where I don't understand the language. I mentally am so fatigued from hearing conversations in other language and like trying to understand what's going on around me, that kind of stuff. Like, that is really fatiguing for me. And so then I'll be like, I just need a nap in the middle of the day randomly. I'm like, please let me have a nap.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, like you might be going to a museum, and walking around a museum all day might not sound that intense, but your mind
Mm-hmm.
is seeing all of these new things. It's reading all of this new information, and it needs time to absorb it. And so it gets very like
Yeah.
tired and just bogged down with just the amount of stuff going on.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that it's good too that when you go on vacation for a week,
Mm-hmm.
like unless you are really planning for, like I mentioned before, like an A race or some goal that you have a deadline for, it's okay that you take some time off.
Yeah.
Your lifetime fitness is going to be okay if you took 7 days off to from your routine and you do other things. Like obviously if you're training for an Ironman triathlon, and depending on where you are in your training, you might not have the luxury of doing that, so you're going to have to figure out how to fit it into where you are. But if you are just working out for life type
Mm-hmm.
of people, and your normal routine is you go to the gym for yoga class and CrossFit class and you go swim sometimes, it's okay if we change up the routine for 7 days.
Mm-hmm. For sure. It's actually, it benefits your body, I feel like, to give it that break, that full rest where
Mm-hmm.
you're not doing any heavy lifting, you're not doing that sort of workout. What, like for myself, when I think about exercising on vacation, I like to set kind of a guide for myself that if thinking about the exercise and planning the exercise is causing me large amounts of stress, I'm not going to do it, because
Yeah.
Like the amount of stress that it's putting on me to think about the exercise and think about the clothes that I have to bring and the shoes that I have to bring and whatever I have to bring in order to do the exercise. If it's not simple, straightforward, easy for me, then I'm just not going to do it, because the negative effects of having that stress is more impactful in a bad way than the positive effects of doing the exercise would be in a positive way.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Especially
Yeah.
because, like we were saying, this is a very short term
Mhm.
scenario. We're not talking about all of summer break. We're talking about maybe 1, maybe 2 weeks where you've planned a trip and you're going
Mhm.
somewhere to go do something.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think that it's also worth noting, yes, you might potentially eat more while you're on vacation. I know that I do, but you probably are also, like we've talked about, walking more. You're walking to museums, through the museum, you're walking in the different areas. If you do any sort of snorkeling or scuba diving, those are activities that take energy from you in order to do them. And so accounting for that in your kind of
Mhm.
like activity log of your brain, that might be enough or should be enough or could be enough of activity for you to be just fine, to take the
Yeah.
time off. Yeah.
Yeah. The other really fun thing that we've figured out for our vacationing is
Mhm.
like we're going to go to a city and we want to see the city. And
Mhm.
so we look up ahead of time if there are walking tours or if there are like
Oh, yeah.
cycling tours or something like that where you can put the movement in while you're doing that activity you were planning on doing.
Yeah.
So like we went to London and
Mhm.
I found a tour that was a cycling tour, but it's going to take you all around London, see all the things you were planning on seeing anyway. And now you can do it in a fun little bike tour adventure as opposed to being like stuck on a bus that does like the
Yeah.
around the city type tours, those type of things. So you're getting
Yeah.
movement in, but you're not necessarily thinking about it. Some people might be
Mhm.
thinking about it if they're not used to cycling at all.
Yeah.
In that case, maybe you choose a walking tour or a different type of tour. But
Mhm.
I tracked it on my watch and I commented back to my husband. I was like, this is the slowest bike ride I'll ever record, because it was like 2 miles an hour on average for like 4 hours.
Oh,
Because
wow.
you're
Yeah.
biking like to a spot and then you sit and talk about the spot for however long and then you bike to the next spot. And so like the
Yeah.
timer was running, but we weren't cycling that long of a distance.
Yeah. That's so fun though. I love that.
The other fun thing that sometimes we do for our vacations is
Mhm.
we call them sport vacations. And
Mhm.
my husband was like, I've never really been on a sport vacation until this last April when we went on a cycling vacation, where the whole point of the vacation is you went to this nice place. We went to Spain and
Mhm.
rented bicycles there. And then
Mhm.
you did bike riding around the area there. And he went with a bunch of his buddies. So they did a bunch of like really difficult cycling
Yeah.
routes and things. And he was like, I've never really been on a sport vacation before. And I had to remind him that he went skiing. That's a sport
Yeah.
vacation.
I hadn't even thought about skiing. Oh my gosh, or snowboarding,
Yeah. So,
surfing. Yeah.
mhm. So that's another one of just because you're on vacation, it doesn't mean
Mhm.
necessarily that the vacation isn't an active vacation.
Yeah.
And so
True. Yeah.
taking a break from your normal routine or not feeling bad about getting in your normal routine may be
Mhm.
okay, because you're still getting in movement, you're still getting in physical
Mhm.
activity and getting the endorphins and the blood rush going so that your body isn't feeling sluggish the whole time.
Mhm.
You're just doing it in
Yeah.
a way that maybe you don't normally do it.
Yeah. Well, and I think the point that we keep coming around to is that like fitness isn't, yes, certainly we have physique goals or maybe we have a certain lifting goal, that kind of stuff. But our physical fitness is really about our lifetime. It's not just about I'm physically fit. And when I went on that vacation, I suddenly was not physically fit anymore. You're still physically fit if you've been training, that kind of stuff. And the activity that you're doing is maintaining your health and fitness. And that's okay. Like
Mhm.
it's awesome actually if you're able to maintain any sort of movement, or maybe you don't. And I don't want you guys to feel guilty about that. Like It's okay to just veg
Mhm.
out and like have some time off and take a break when you need it and not
Yeah.
feel guilty or not beat yourself up about it. It's okay to eat whatever you want on vacation and not exercise to deserve that food. Like you deserve that food because you're a person who needs to eat food. Like that's okay.
Try
Yeah.
new cuisines.
Yeah. Tried when I was in France, the one I tried was beef tartare. I had never had it before and I was like, "Oh my god, it was so good." Yeah, it was really really good.
Yeah.
Oh, France, I'm coming back for you,
Oh,
man.
France.
Yeah.
Soon, my friend.
Soon. Yep, we'll be there. And you and I are
Yep.
vegging out by a pool in
Oh, I'm
France.
so excited.
Eating cheese, drinking wine. Like that sounds so good right now. What do we do when we have people come to our house?
What do we do?
What do we do? I never have people come to my house because I live in a tiny house.
Except when I came to visit.
Oh, true. Yep. We did activities that required this. That was our
Yeah, there's
activity.
a lot of muscle movement between arm from table to arm to mouth. Okay. Bicep curl action.
This is why we lift people. Oh my gosh. So funny.
Yeah.
Love it.
So my parents came to visit us recently. They were here for, well, in our house for about 7 days.
Mhm.
We currently live in not a huge house. And so, yeah, it's a little bit of a disruption when you have visitors come over into your life. For me personally, I have like two areas in my house, like if I'm working out at home that I work out in. One of them
Mhm.
is in the main living room sitting area.
Yeah. That's rough.
Yeah. So, like, this is an easier said than done, like, tip section for me because I did not do any of the stuff that I would be recommending someone do for this. I just didn't. It
Mhm.
just wasn't, it just didn't happen. And that's fine. It's fine. We all have challenges and different things to get over for that. But
Yeah.
like when people come to visit you, you have again the option of kind of treating it like your vacation in a way of you're either going to continue your normal routine on it or you're going to adapt and adjust
Mhm.
or kind of let it like be a rest and recovery time for you as well.
Yeah.
I think when people come to visit you, you also in a way should take into account their fitness level and tolerances. If
Yeah.
they're older individuals, they're probably not someone who can do as much physically. Maybe they are, but some of them are not of the age of, yeah, we're going to go to the gym and then we're going to go for a hike and then we're going to do this and then we're going to do that. Like you might want to only pick one of these activities.
Mhm. And then they need a nap.
Then they need a for real, okay?
Yeah. Love it.
um, but also like if they're individuals who aren't into fitness as much or just this isn't
Mhm.
part of their own routine, they might not be as willing to want to join you at the gym.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I guess that
Mhm.
would be the first kind of tip would be ask them if they want to join you at the gym or on your routine. If you want to go for a run, maybe they want to go for a run with you.
Mhm.
Heather, you want to go
Yeah.
for a run with me?
No, you be dragging me along. Oh my gosh, I love it. That's like on that hike that I took my kids on Saturday. So it was supposed to be a 4 mile loop, and then come to find out half of the loop was closed, and so it was literally just a down and back. But it was a literal down and then back up on the second half of it, and so 1 mile down, 1 mile up. And I literally was holding my youngest, my 5-year-old. I was holding his hand, and he was bent over, and I was dragging him up the mountain the whole way. Oh, it was drama. And he was like, I want you to carry me. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, no.
This is hard enough as it
Me.
is.
Yes, exactly. I was like, I also am not enjoying this, and I'm not adding to my lack of enjoyment by carrying you up the mountain. Oh no.
I'm just picture like someone just being drug, like physically
Yeah.
drug up the mountain.
That's
Oh my
exactly what it
God.
was. He was like dragging his feet along. He was not into it at all. And the crying that was happening. And I just, okay, we're just going to keep going. I
Yeah.
continued my conversation with other people and ignored him.
I mean, you'll get there faster doing it that way.
Yeah, I'm like, what else are you supposed to do? Like, certainly I could have like pampered him the whole way up the mountain, but then that would teach him that, oh, mommy will just carry me every time that we go on a hike. No, never.
Also,
Not
I'm
it.
not going to pander to your cryingness.
Yeah, it was like, especially because I know that you can hike this. Like, it was only 2 miles. And the boys had told me, oh, we've been on this hike with daddy, but they did the long one where it was like a 7-mile hike and they did fine. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Too
It's like,
funny.
you're trying to emotionally manipulate me here, man. It's not gonna work.
Not gonna work. It's too
Yep.
funny. Yeah. What else is a good part? Oh, so for me personally, because my workout space is like in the middle of the giant sitting area, it's not giant, it's so tiny, y'all, but it's the only sitting area that we have in the house. I just didn't feel comfortable being like, all right, I'm going to do my weightlifting, Pilates, whatever I'm doing for the day in front of the television that you are currently watching. Please don't stare at my butt.
Oh my gosh. I love it. I would have. I'd been like, I worked hard for this, but you get to look at it.
But your dad?
Yeah, true. Not
Yeah.
it.
I don't just, stick mine out in front of my dad and just be like, sorry, dude, I gotta do my deadlifts. Ah.
Oh my
I gotta get this in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just didn't prioritize it, I should say.
Yeah.
And because they were working off of a jet lag as well, so their time shift and everything was all sorts of messed up. Like, it just didn't work out for me to be able to find a time when it was like, nobody is bugging me, nobody's in my space.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that.
Yeah. So if you want to work out while on vacation, what are some good strategies for doing it? Like, if you want to continue your routine through.
Yeah. So for me, one of the things that I do is I bring resistance bands so that I have some sort of something that I can do in my hotel room, or I could do like in like a little like an esplanade or like the lobby area or something. If there's space, then I can do it. Something super simple and it's lightweight. I don't have to pack a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But also thinking about like, if you are going to work out, you should probably have some sort of workout attire, or maybe you're a nudist and work out naked. I don't know, in your hotel room. It's up to you.
But planning for your clothes.
Yes, exactly. So planning ahead, looking at where you're going, seeing if there is a gym, what sort of equipment. A lot of times like hotel websites and stuff will have pictures of their gym equipment. And so you can kind of plan a little bit like, oh, that piece is there. So I'll do leg press or whatever it is that's available to you.
Yeah. Or they have an elliptical or a spin bike or treadmill.
Yeah. Yep. So just getting some sort of activity in there. Yeah.
Another one is kind of related to that, is just that way in your mind, you're comfortable when you get there. You know what's already there. You don't walk into the gym and say, now what do I do? Because I didn't know what was here before. You'll have your kind of basic plan going into things.
Yeah, for sure.
Another great tip for like if you're going to work out is knowing ahead of time that doing your workout routine might actually help with your jet lag.
Yeah.
Like, it is a really good tool to help try to break your jet lag. What is the phrase? There's a phrase around it, but like get over your jet lag, especially if you have like 8, 9, 10-hour time difference from where you normally are. Getting in some movement, and that way your hormones start kind of circulating again, your blood flow gets up, your heart rate gets up. It helps your body kind of re-regulate so that it knows, okay, like we just did our workout. Normally we have 5 more hours and then we go to sleep.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that. I hadn't even thought about hormones in terms of adjustment to jet lag. Like,
Yeah.
that our bodies are circadian rhythms. Like I hadn't thought about like, oh, when it's supposed to be nighttime or our body is settling down, that kind of stuff. Like I just push through it like a maniac.
Like a crazy
But-
person.
Like a crazy person. But I'm like, oh yeah, there's actually like a science behind all this. How fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably why I eat less on vacation. Not less, but I'm like, but yeah, I feel less hungry during the day because I'm all the way on the other side of the world.
That, yeah, maybe. And it also could just be like you're very excited.
Yeah.
Like I'm a horrible tourist by myself. If I'm going
Okay.
places sightseeing by myself, you can
Mhm.
ask me after I've been there, what did I eat? And I will say nothing.
Oh,
Because
really?
I forgot to stop somewhere to get food.
Oh no. Okay,
I was
well,
too busy
good.
like
I'll balance you
museum,
out.
this, that. Like I saw all this stuff. What'd you eat? I had a waffle on the way to the train station.
Oh my
That was
gosh.
literally my experience once. Was I went to Brussels the very first time ever, like 10
Yeah.
years ago, and I was by myself on a day trip wandering around. I made no plan originally. Again, these are terrible tips for tourists. Make a plan. But I made no
Yeah.
plan. I just wandered around, did my own sightseeing, and then it's starting to get dark. I'm like, I should probably head back to the train. And all of a sudden it ticked in my brain. I've been here for like 10 hours and I didn't eat anything.
Yeah, that's wild.
Oh my God.
Oh, love
Yeah.
it.
I think my final tip would be if you are going to be, well, not my final one. Another tip, if you're going to be working out while on vacation, is I would recommend doing it in the morning. I mean, I know
Mhm.
people are evening workouters. Like I am more of a late afternoon evening workout person, but if I'm on vacation, there's no way I'm going to be like, great, I'm not going to go sightseeing now, or I have to cut it short because I need to go back to the gym and do my workout.
Yeah.
I will
Agreed.
do it in the morning before everything gets done, the day gets started. That way it's done and dusted, and then the rest of the day is my own.
Yeah. I love that tip.
And then you
I
don't have to worry
also-
about alcohol.
Yeah, you can just drink in
You
the
can just
evening.
drink
Oh
the
my gosh.
alcohol or eat all the
Yeah.
food.
Yep. I'm bringing my yoga mat. I was like, that's the thing I always take on vacation with me. This is, I don't know if it's actually supposed to be the way it works on a plane or not, but I always carry my carry-on bag and then my overhead one, and I bring my yoga mat and nobody ever says anything to me.
I think as long as it's attached, it's fine.
Yeah, I just stick it under the seat with my bag and nobody, like, it's not a problem.
Yeah. Well, some airlines get persnickety.
Do they get
So as long,
persnickety? Oh.
yeah. So as long as
Well,
they're
don't follow that
attached,
advice
usually.
then, guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, mine is luckily like not, you don't have to roll it. I can like fold it up and then just shove it in somewhere.
Yeah. I
Like a
literally
bag or
saw
whatever.
someone who they travel all the time and they have like one of the like Lululemon like fanny pack type sling bags,
Uh-huh.
and they were told that that was their personal item and they already had a backpack and their roller bag. And so
Yeah.
that little fanny pack needed to go in their other bag. And they were literally like, what the fuck? Like, it's going to take up the exact same space on my belly here that it is in my back. Like, what?
What are you talking about? Oh, wild.
I would have been so mad because I'd have been like, this is where all my documents are so that I can easily pull them out for you so that I can get through boarding.
Yeah. Let me do that real quick. Oh my gosh.
So dumb.
The drama. I
But yeah.
luckily have TSA pre-check. So I'm like, I don't even have to take my shoes off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I got, what is it called? Global entry.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that I get to skip all the lines. Yeah.
Hot tip,
the
get global
lines.
entry. And I'm just kidding.
Get global entry. If you don't know what that is, check it out.
Google it.
Yeah. Google it. It's awesome. It's like $100 for like 5 years or something like that. And you get to skip all the lines when you're coming back into the United States because you've like been pre-checked. And I'm like, yes, I will take that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Yeah.
worth it.
Worth
Mhm,
it.
mhm. Worth it.
Yeah.
Cool.
The last tip about like actually working out and things is be mindful of the environment that you will be going to. So especially if you're working out in the summertime outside,
Mm,
You might now have to wear sunscreen and a hat. You might need to bring extra water or electrolyte drinks that you don't normally need to have at home. These are things that you have to think about in advance and plan for, because if you're going outside and the UVs are very high that day, you won't want to roast in the sun on your Pilates workout outside or your 2-hour run that you had planned for your long run. It's not going to be an enjoyable experience, and it'll probably wreck the rest of your trip.
Yeah, for sure. Or thinking about like working out at altitude, like people can get altitude sickness and that kind of stuff. So talking about like our hiking trip that we're planning, the reason why I'm starting to hike now and do hikes at altitude is because we're going to Machu Picchu, where people get really, really sick from the altitude there. And so being aware of the environment is, it's huge.
Yeah. I think it happens a lot too. So it happens a lot for hiking, altitude sickness, but it also happens in the wintertime for ski trips when people go, because you might drive from sea level up to the mountain and you didn't notice it necessarily when you were in the car, but 2 hours later when you're out on the slopes, you might kick in.
You're like, I can't breathe.
Can't breathe anymore. It's really hard to walk back to the chalet.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
I think those are all my tips I can think of right now. I'm sure there are a ton more that maybe we'll bring up at another time.
Yeah. Well, and there's other like resources and that kind of stuff out there. So thinking about like YouTube has great like in hotel room workouts. I'm sure you can look up, or like band workouts, like that kind of stuff. There's great stuff that you can do. And then thinking about like while you are traveling, like make it, I think we should normalize doing yoga in an airport. Like, I know that I look like a freak when I do it, but because nobody else is, but really you're sitting on a plane for an extended period of time. Like you should be doing some sort of movement in your body before and after so that you feel good.
It just helps with not dying from blood clots.
Yes. Yeah. And then I think the other thing that we should address is like mindset around it. So we've talked a lot about like just being okay, like not feeling guilty if you're not doing a workout during your vacation time. But also if you make a plan to go to the gym and then you get there and the gym equipment is full of other people, or it's not an environment that's comfortable for you, or you're not sure what to do,
or it's broken,
yeah, being okay with like not doing the workout that day, or adjusting in the moment and saying, okay, I'm going to do half my workout because that's not available, or whatever it is, and adjusting in the moment, taking a breath and letting it be okay, because you are enough just as you are. It's great that you made a plan. It's awesome if you can follow through on it. It's okay if you don't. And then when you come back, you get to start again.
Thanks for joining us today at Race to Wellness. We hope you found it both fun and informative. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can visit savagehealthllc.com and make a donation on the Race to Wellness page. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on our next episode.
We love hearing from you, so feel free to ask us any questions or leave us a comment down below. You can click on the links in the description to follow us on social media, or simply send us an email at racetowellness2023@gmail.com.